Hello friends, in this video we will learn Docker by taking an example of .NET application with SQL Server connection on a Docker platform. So before jumping to the code exercise, let's recap for a few questions. What is Docker? Docker is an open source platform used for automation the deployment, scaling and management of application in lightweight, portable and isolated environment called container. Docker container has a base of the modern development lifecycle. It is the first step towards containerizing the application and running it in Kubernetes environment or standalone application without having any dependency on operating system. It can be Windows or Linux or any other operating system. So Docker container is a package that contains everything for an application to run, including code, library, and dependencies. Containers are lightweight, portable, and secure, allowing application to run quickly and reliably across different environments. Containers are built from Docker images. But what is Docker image? A Docker image is like a blueprint. Docker image is a file that contains instruction for building the Docker container. It's similar to a snapshot of what will be in the container. So you can use the Docker API and CLI to create start, stop, move, or delete container. Container are isolated from other containers and the host machine, which increase security. You can connect container to a network, attach storage to them, or create new images based on them. So in this example, we will create one network which will connect to our .NET application with SQL Server. So both the applications will use the same network so they can communicate easily. So what are the main components of Docker? If I'm talking about the main four component of Docker, Docker engine, which provide a powerful tool to build your all application. So Docker CLI is a flexible and robust command line interfaces. What is in Docker build and Docker Compose? Docker Compose is very interesting. So I want to start this example with Docker Compose, but let's move ahead. So let's start with the Docker download, how we can download the Docker and set up in our application. So this is the official Docker website where you can get the Docker and install in your machine. So I'm downloading in my machine here. I will download and download for Windows. I'm working on Windows at this moment. So I have already downloaded and installed Docker on my machine. When you will install Docker, it looks like this. So there are containers. It's an empty container at the moment. I'm sorry. I'll show you here. So this container is look like it's complete empty at the moment. There are no containers. There is no images, but there are. It's looking for images at local and hub. What is hub actually? Hub is a global repository system of a Docker. So whenever you have your image ready, you can push to Docker hub, and then if you are configuring your build via TeamCity or GitHub Action, they can pull your image from that repository. So here if you go to the docker hub.docker.com, so you can see existing repositories. There are many existing repositories. So we will talk about MySQL, right? Because I need to install MySQL and SQL Server. So if this is already exists on Docker Hub, so there are documentations for this. You can install, you can run like this, and you can use in Docker command, Docker Compose as well. So let's start. I'm using my SQL Server for my example, so I will use this my Microsoft SQL Server based image. Okay, I'm going to use Microsoft SQL Server and will start Docker run command. So before that, let's see my Docker is installed in my terminal. So I will see Docker version. It's installed and version is 26.1.4. I will see docker.ps. It will give me a container list, but at the moment I do not have anything. So I'm going to clear and I will start Docker run for MySQL Server. So I need to change something like password. let me tell you what it will do. It will start Docker, it will run that image, accept EULA, it means this parameter confirm the acceptance of end user license, and it required MySQL SA password. So I'm going to give the same parameter, yes, MySQL password. I'm writing very simple SA, and PID Express. Here's we need to register port. First port is our Windows machine, but the second one is the container port. So we are mapping 1433 to the of container ports to our system port, and this -d means it will run on detach mode, and I'm pulling this image now. So first it will look like in locally. I don't have any image on this local, so it is going to the hub and downloading this image. It will take few minutes to download. Let's wait. Great, it is downloaded, is completed, and I can see now images is there. One image is there, SQL Server, and it also created one container. You can see the container name is automated generated, so I have not given the container name, so it picked automatically. So but I need a container name that does not look like good, so I will delete this again and will give the container name in docker command. So let's I'm not deleting this, so it will not download it again, and I'll go to the terminal again with the, and I will start the docker. I will start the same command, and after port I can give name, even you can give anywhere. So I'm giving name to the SQL Server. So it found that image locally and created the container with my new name SQL Server. So my SQL Server is running now. Let's start our SQL Server. So we'll see. So this is a SQL Server. I will connect to the database. Localhost port I have given there. Port is the same. If you want to see that container, so you can go to the uh, inspect here. So in simple form, so you can see the localhost server name is this, password is this. So I can connect with the SA password, SA, and should connect. There seems some problem. Let me see. Oh, I'm very sorry, container is not running, it's in stop mode. You can see this is in stop mode. I need to start that container. Now I can connect again. Let's try. And if it is not connecting, we can see the logs is saying it is stop again. SQL Server is now ready to connection. This unable to meet system administration password validation failed. So it means I cannot make it very simple. I will remove it again, and I will start with the strong password. So the password SC will not work here. I will give 12345. Okay, so when I use command like docker run, it is already in running mode now. So if we will go there and its recovery is complete, default, there's no error, so it means it is working. So inspect, I will go here, password is this, I will connect again. Cool, it is connecting. So here is my empty database. I can create one database here. I will use temp test container. I created a database. I will create a new table. id int name var. I will save this table to employee. So when I will query employee, it showing no error, no rows. That's great. My SQL Server is now running from the Docker container actually. So what's the benefit of running a database in a container? There is no benefit, because database is very critical part of application, and container is supposed to rebuild and redeployment again and again for any deployment purpose. So we should not use that. We should not use database in container, but this is for our application example, so that's why I ran here. So what will happen if I'll delete that? So suppose I'll delete, or I updated this new version, what will happen? So now I cannot connect to my database anymore. It's giving me error, right? So I need to create again, because I do not have any container here. It cannot connect. So now I will run it again. My container is there, it's well and running. Password is same, configuration is same, SA password is same, but when I will execute this, what will happen? There is no database. My database and table is gone, because that is the one of the property of container is isolated. So when I deleted that container, it deleted my everything from that container, even my database, my tables, everything deleted. Now the fresh copy of SQL Server is installed. So this is just an example how the Docker Hub is working, how the Docker images are working. So we will go now and learn .NET. Alright friends, when my database is up and running, we should start .NET application. So let me open my Visual Studio Code, and here is my Visual Studio Code. Let's create a new application. I have one folder, cd docker work docker demo. I'll go into this and I will create .NET new MVC new application. I'll give web app. So it will create my new application, and I'll go to there, cd web app clear, and I'll open folder, sorry. So I'm in my application now. We'll just start this application and see if what's running or not. .NET run. It will build and initialize my application. It will take some time before it's downloading the packages from, because it's running first time. Cool, it started. So I will see my web application must run now. Right, so my application is up and running. My database is also running. So I will create connection and will make a some code which will use a Microsoft Entity Framework to connect with database. All right, let's start. I will open another terminal here just to add some more packages related to .NET Entity Framework. So I will use .NET add package MySQL, because I need a package installed. So another package, I will need a .NET Microsoft Entity Framework. Package Microsoft .entity framework core.design. Sorry, I was not needed a MySQL, but I need a SQL Server package. So the first package I used for MySQL, but that's okay. So let's see, my packages are there. That's good. And so what we are going to create, we will create a new table in our database. We will create a new database here and will connect to our application. Okay, so for that, let's create a one model for Let's call it person.cs. I will copy this because I need a namespace. It's a public integer id get set. I will have some more fields for my table like id, name, and age. We can give string. Age can be an integer at the moment. So I have created one model, right? So what I also need, I need to create a database. Sorry, in same root level, I'll create a data folder, and in data folder I will create my DbContext class. So I will use DbContext.cs. I have my web app dot data. I will close public class app DbContext. That will inherit from DbContext context class. So it is just for my entity framework and database connection. So I will use the same public. I will have DbContext, and here is DbContext options. I need to give DbContext is my class name, and I'll give options. In these options I need to pass in base class. For the time I do not have anything in my constructor, I'll create a db set for my model. People, I have created their model. Cool. My DbContext is ready. Now I need a connection string. I will go there in application setting. I will add connection strings. Connection string, what I will have default connection server. So I give it server name like SQL Server. I will connect with SQL Server, and it was on port 1433. I'll create database like my app DB. User ID is SA, and password we keep that. Sorry, it's a semicolon. Password was welcome at the rate 12345. I'm sorry for the simple password, but I believe I can remember that easily. Trusted certificate, trust server certificate equal to true. So that's my connection string. Now I will go and create a new controller which will interact with my table. In meantime, let's create one database in my database, in my server. Sorry. So, oops. New database. I have created that. So I have database. Now my DB set should automatically run when I will run first time my application. Let's create a controller. So I will copy almost this. I will do person controller. Okay, logger index, I don't need any privacy and error at the moment. So also I need a private read-only app DbContext to communicate with my entity. I will use context. App DbContext. I can inject dependency here. So in index, we will fetch the data from context table, like where data, people data equal to underscore context dot to list. I'll get all the data and will bind to my view. That's simple. Now I will go to the index. I need to create an index for person controller, right? So I will go to the view and will add another folder. We'll say person, and in person I will add new file index.cs html. So now I will read that my controller model to display my people list here in this index. So I will use model is IEnumerable for people. People is not coming directly, so must give the complete path. Web app dot models dot people. All right, it's happy now. So let's give a heading to this table and we'll create a simple table. Give me a few minutes. I'll write that code so that I cannot waste your time. Okay, I have added this table for displaying our list. So I created a one table with name, age and actions. My actions, I want to update that record as well. So I have added. I have created one button to add person record, but for the current demo, we will see only the listing here. So we have controller, we have view, we have connection string added, we have updated the package. What else? Okay, we need to give the link to our new application, new people controller. So there is a, because we have already seen like there is a home privacy, so we will add here another uh, link. So what that link should call, like people, and controller should be a person, action must be an index, right? So we are now having a third option here. What else now? Okay, we need to initialize our connection string. Yeah, we forgot that. So we will go over Program.cs, and here after controller and before the build of application, we will register app DbContext. So builder dot services dot add DbContext. What we have, app DbContext, our class is gone here. Now options, dot use SQL Server. We are using SQL Server here. So builder dot configuration can be null dot get connection string. Get connection string. Our connection string was default connection. All right. So in case this is null, we will say it's empty. all good. So everything is good up to here. We can start. We can see if our application is building. .NET build. Alright, it's successful, but it's failing because it's using in here. So I will just stop that application, clear. I will use .NET build. Now I see people is coming, what it will display here. It's taking a lot of time. Great, we got some exception. It says a network error while no such host is unknown. Because what's this? I believe because SQL Server is we have a SQL Server name here, but it's only for the container application. Otherwise, it must have with the local host, and it must start with localhost. Right, let's start it again. So because first time it is running, is this created our database? Let's see. Still my table is not coming. Let's see. To run the application, person, invalid object name, people is still not coming. It means my migration is not working properly. So that's not a good idea. We need to create table. We have this table already, right? So we will say age int. Oops, because we can create a new table. ID int allow null name. Sorry, it's name varchar 50 age integer, and this is called people table. Cool, we have now people table. We will add some data in this table. One test name is 34, 2 new name is 41, and that's it. We'll see the application now. Cool, so our application works. My migration is not working from first time when we created a when we first time created entity framework, but if there is a database it will work. That's great. That's great. So what we have learned so far, we created a database. We created database from Docker image. We ran into container, and we created one .NET application. We make a connection with that new server, and my application is reading data from the containerized database now. That's great. Now we will see how we can start our application in Docker. So we will need to create a Docker file. Docker file will generate our Docker image. Then we can run our Docker image as a container in Docker application. So let's jump and start Docker file. All right, let's create a Docker file to create image and run it from container. So Docker file, we can create just Docker file. The first line should be a base image. Microsoft.com .NET ASP.NET 8.0 as base. So if you are creating a Node.js, so your first file base image will be a Node.js image. I'm creating a .NET ASP.NET Core, so my project is in .NET Core. You can see my project is in .NET 8 framework, so my Docker file will start from my Docker file will have a base image from ASP.NET 8. Alright, we will create a working directory here. Working directory will be a same app, and expose default port 80. Right, so these three commands are basic commands you need to write in every docker file you are creating. Now what I will use build and build the app, build and publish the app. Now, so from same mcr dot microsoft.com .net. Now what I need, I have SDK 8.0 as build. So I need .NET SDK to build my application. Again, I will create a working directory to build the project. I'm using source. Then I'm copying all CS project files to current file to current folder. Now I will run .NET restore to get my all package. .NET restore, copy all, and new working directory. I'm going to working directory .src. Oh, same working directory, sorry. Working directory is it. Now I will run command .NET build my web app.cs proj, type release in app, and I can copy the build in build folder in app1. Okay, build is successful, going good. Now I will use publish. From build as publish, I will run .NET publish command now. Publish web app.cs proj, type release, output must go in app and publish folder. All good. So next step is copy build output to base image. So now I need to get all the published image and put it in base image. From base as final, working directory is my app. I will copy from publish app publish, all the things I need to copy. Right, so now I have entry point. Entry point is my .NET, and parameter is web app.dll. So this is my Docker file. It's a whole structure. What I'm doing, I have started with the base image, then I use SDK. I copied all the CS projects. I run .NET restore to download all packages. I created a source folder, and I used .NET build command to build that. After that, I used build publish command to publish my code and put it in app.publish. So after that, I copy all the code. Sorry, I I went to the app directory and copy all the published code in my app.publish folder. So last entry must be a .NET. Entry point must give you a .NET and my current DLL. So let's try to build that Docker file and see if this is working good. So how we can build Docker build? We need to give tag to what tag we need to give. I'm giving web app and version 01. This is my image tag, and I need to copy all data into current directory. So it's building. You can see building step by steps, like copy working directory .NET build. So these steps are executing now. All good, work well. So now we will see images. There is a one image coming, because when we Docker build will run Dockerfile will build your application and will create an image. So your image is now coming. We need to create container to run that image, right? So what's the next step? We have a image now, so we need to run this image. For running docker run, I'll say in detachable mode. Need to configure port 8080 and my web app 1.0. All good. So if we will see container, my application is there. This is my application web app 1.0. I have not given the name, so that's not looking good. I will delete this and will create a name. I will give to a name. So when docker detachable mode, I will give name equal to my web app. So my image is running now. So oh, see, great. So in container I have web app container and my application is running good. So now I can run from this my 8080 port and we'll see what's there. It was running from my .NET. Now I will use 8080 port 8080, which is not working. Okay, so I know the reason why it's not working, because recently they converted a default port to port 80 port 8080, sorry. So we will try with the 8080 port and it should work. So the port default is not 80 but it's 8080. It's working, and yeah, port 80 is now it's coming. So recently they changed default port to 8080, so my container are running now in port 8080 and I have mapped to my local port 8080, so it's working. Home and privacy. Here, what's the problem will coming? I told you about the isolation, right? So my application, I have two container now. I have two container running individually. So it means isolation rule says like I cannot use this directly. So there is a network, right? There is a problem. I cannot use this. So for that purpose, I need to create one network, and on that network, basically we need to use that network will be used for both SQL Server and web app. So we will solve that problem by adding a network and adding these applications to a single network. All right. So let's see what we can see. Okay, .NET running now. So we will start by adding network. So I'm deleting both containers, right? So I will add in my network after name. I will give network to local network, right? So I have created, oh, local network not found. We need to create network before that. So we can create a network by docker network command create local network. So now what happened? My network is created. So I will, if you need to see docker rm, my docker images was I can give docker image name and remove. My container is removed from the CLI. So now I will run again because I have created local network. I created that, and my SQL Server is started on network. So how we will see the network? You need to see the networks. So see, my container is running on local network. Make sense? All good. So Another thing, like when we will run our .NET container, two containers in SQL Server and container, so my application will be changed. My my SQL string connection string will change. Now it will not be a local host because we are planning to use it from the container, right? So container name is the will be the new server name, like it's SQL Server. So I will write here SQL Server in the same development, and both config I will change that. So now I will build and run again. I will build my application with version 2.0. Cool. My application is built successful. I will run docker run with the web app 2.0, and also I will give my network. So how I will give network, local network. Great. My application should start version 2 now. My version 2 is started, container is running, and we will see inspect networks is a local network. Now both are running on local network, but since um, we deleted that container first, and we need to create again, it must be a clean database at the moment. So we will see databases. There is no database. I need to create database. What was in my application? I will use same my DB. We'll create a new table, people, id int, name, varchar, age int, and I will save as people. All good. My table is saved. I need to enter some data. One test 12 to name 76. Okay, I have people, table, and database. Now I will see if my application is working from Docker. Great, my application is working from Docker port and fetching the data. That's really good. So what's happened now? If you want to see the logs, it's executing command from people, right? So it means, so overall what we created, what we implemented so far. So let me add a note here, readme file, readme.md. I created SQL Server container in Docker, created .NET application, run on run in container, run in container. Fourth, created Docker network, hosted web app and SQL Server on same network. 6, used container name as server name in connection string, right? 7th, 2 container running in isolated mode and connected to each other. So this is what we have learned so far. Now what's pending? I want to use Docker Compose for all these steps, and all these steps will run docker compose and host complete running application. Let's jump how we can use docker compose file to implement this. But before that, you need to understand what and how we will upload our docker image to image sub on server. So we need to push our docker image to docker hub. So for that, you need to have a one account in docker hub repository. I have docker hub account, so I will show you how we can publish our image to docker hub. So all right, for docker push we need to use docker. We need to log in actually first, so it will authenticate login successful because I already have login here. So the second step is tag our image, right? So what image we have created, we need to tag our image with that repository tag. So it's a docker tab, web app, and it was 2.2 tag, my username, and same web app 2.2. Okay, image is tagged. Now I can push that image to my docker repository. So I will use docker push command, my username, and my image 2.0. Alright, so it's pushing my local image to my docker hub. So whenever I need a new system, I can just pull my image from this repository and can just start. We need some wait. Okay, so let's start how we can push our image to docker repository, and from then we can pull from docker compose file and can create our complete application in one command. So do not need every time build and run and create container, but docker compose will do everything for us. So we have our docker file ready, right? So we need to build our code. For docker build, I will use command docker build, and this is my username, and web app 2, I will create a build now. So what I'm doing, I'm building my image for pushing, right? So now I will use docker push in my account name. This is my account name, and this is my web app 2.0. 2.0 is the version. So currently there is nothing. You can see in my account there is no repository here. So even you can create here, but we will post from that docker. We will push from docker command. So now it's using that local tag image web 2.0 and pushing to the server docker hub. It will make our life easy. Like every time we are building our code, we will push a new version to hub, and from our automation CI/CD tool, it will pull that latest image and will publish the new code. So that's whole concept of this docker image. Like we will learn this in upcoming session or upcoming videos. It's taking some time. All right, it's nearly complete upload, and we can see now it's pushed, right? So we will refresh our image, and we can see, yeah, great, less than a minute we have our image ready now. So if you want to run that image directly, you can use just the same concept like .NET run, like SQL Server, same command .NET run, name this and image this. You can use this image as well, but we will try to learn Docker Hub now. If you want to use the command line, you can use this just like that. Docker push web app. This was the command what I used. You can see. So here is a webhook. Webhook is generally when you want some action on having a new version, so you can configure here. It's a settings. We don't need to change setting. Okay, we have the 2.0 version ready. So now let's move to the Docker compose file for this complete work. We will create a Docker compose here. docker-compose.yml file. Right, it's the first command in this docker compose file should be a version, so I'm using 3.8 version of docker compose. I know that. And now it comes services. I can add as many as services as I want, but I will start with SQL Server. I have SQL Server, so it's image. What's the image name? I will copy from this. Where is that? Okay, so this was my image name. Image is equal to Microsoft.com MySQL Server 2019 latest container. Good. So now the second name is container underscore name. We need to give container name. I will give SQL Server. To be honest, I need to give the same name what I have here, so that I do not need to change my connection string. It's the same, right? And now we can have some environment variable. So we know, like, we need to have these two environment variables. This one, environment variable, should be accept, and another variable was same structure. SQL password is welcome at the rate 12345. Great. Now we need to define ports, right? So ports was we were using port 1433, and this is our local port. All good. So that's what I need for running a SQL Server. But if you remember, we set up a network for our making a connection for SQL Server to web application. So we will create one network service. We will go to the service and we'll create network. I will use the same network what I was using there, local network. My network name is a local network, and it's a driver. Network driver is a bridge type, right? So I have set up my network, and I need to use here same networks, local network. All good. That's good. I have downloaded, I have set up the SQL Server, I have set the image path, I have container name, environment variable, ports, and network. All good, all good. So now I need another service which will be for web app. What was it's a web app, right? So the second service is web app. I will use web app. I will use image. What's image now? Image is my username, and web app. That's it. Okay, I need to give the version as well. So if we will see what was the image web app, and it's version 2.0. All good. All right. So 2.0, sorry, it's not v2 but it's a 2.0. It was 2.0 version. Web app, my image name is my username and my image name followed by image tag. That's fine. So web app is done, image is done. Why it's looking like that? Okay, it should be under that. Image. All good. Image is this. So container name, what container name I need same web app container name. So what I have written, I am setting here. All good. Ports, I need to define ports, application is using a 8080 to 8080 port. Default ports is now, this is depends on because this image is all needs to install after SQL Server, because if SQL Server is not working then this image will not work. And then I need to give networks. Network is my local network, right? That's it. What else? I need to set some environment variable like KSP net core underscore environment development ASP net core URLs HTTP plus. Okay, so this URL may not needed at the moment because it's already new version of Docker is already using .NET 8080, so I will just remove this at the moment. And also I need connection strings. I need to copy the same thing. What default connection strings? I will use this so that I don't have any mistake, right? Connection strings equal to, we'll copy all the same here. So server is SQL Server, this name, database is my database name, user ID is a, password welcome, trusted certificate, this. Ideally it's all set up now, right? So this is my Docker Compose file look likes. I have a version to start with. Services, I have three services: SQL Server, web app and networks. So first I need to set up my SQL Server with image this, container name is this, environment, port and network. Then my web app comes with image what I published recently, container name will be that, port is this, depends upon SQL Server, the above, and finally is the network. Let's try to run that, but before that I need to clear my all Docker. So I don't have anything. Let's clear image all well. So my Docker is nothing, having no container, no images, right? So we will try to run Docker Compose. I will clear that and I will say Docker Compose up. Services, web app, networks must be a list. Okay, networks, it's missing on networks. Okay, so list means I need to give this name here, same like this, right? So again CLS Docker Compose up. Wow, it start pulling the things. So what it pulled, web app pulled, SQL Server is pulling. What it's creating, my web app. All right, it's created one image. SQL Server is actually heavy image, so it may take some time, but it will not take a lot of time. That's the beauty of, like, if you need to set up SQL Server locally and install that community version, it will take a lot of time. But instead of, you can just pull the image and start your local SQL Server without having any license or any complex community version. Your SQL Server will have all the functionalities. All good. My images are pulled and container created. SQL Server is started. Okay, my application is also started. Let's see what happened. My images are there, is in use. My containers, created one container and two images are running. Two images are running in between them. That's great. Let's start. Let's get with, because everything will be I will copy this name. I will refresh the connection. Disconnect. SQL Server. Okay, so this time it's not SQL Server. Make it sure, because this time it's not running from the single container. So my name should be a SQL Server. Instead of localhost, I will use SQL Server. Oops, I have not given that. That's still not working. What happened to SQL Server? Failed to authentication. Oh, why it's saying like this? Have not I accepted? Right. Must start with localhost. Yeah, it started. It took some time to begin, but finally it started. There was no issue. Oops. So in my application, I will create a database and table to see if everything is working good. All right, I created database, and in database I will create new table. ID, int, name, varchar, age, int, and save people. That's good. It's created table. Let's put some data. I'm sorry for this manual process. I could write some script that will run automatically, but hopefully it makes sense. All right, now I have data, I have table, and my Docker containers are also running good. So let's start my application on 8080 port. Where was my application? This is my application. All right, Mark and Tom, my data is updated and my application is running good. So what happens? We created a Docker file, Docker compose file with all the services what I have written, right? And just run that my Docker compose file, and it started everything with single command. I have database, I have database, I have my web app, I have network, and one Docker compose file started it all. So that's not pending now. It's 8 and 9. What else is pending? Auto build, auto push, and auto push new build, run docker compose to use latest build. For that, what we are planning to do, we will create a script file which will, when we will run the docker build, if the build will successful, it will auto increment the build number and will push to docker hub. Then if we will run the docker compose file again, so my latest build should be available to my application. We will see that in next video. Thanks for watching.